Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. We have coming up at the weekend what could be an absolute explosion of a fight between Victor Ortiz Jr. Virgil Ortiz Jr. Virgil Ortiz Jr. and EIMANTAS Stanionis. And this could be an explosion because both of them are pressure fighters, very well schooled. I've got just about every punch in the book, and I think this can't fail to deliver. I've said that before, we've all said that before about certain fights and they've disappointed us, but I'll be surprised if this one does. And let's go through it. Let me explain why. Let's go through their respective records to start with. So you've got EIMANTAS Stanionis. He's from Lithuania, big star in Lithuania. Apparently they haven't got many fighters, but this guy is the real deal. He is an orthodox fighter, currently 14 wins, no draws, no defeats, and 9 KO wins. And his style is, had a very good amateur pedigree, very good amateur career, turned pro in 2017. Hasn't had that many fights really when you consider it. 6 years, 14 fights, suffered injuries. But if you look at, let's go through his record, his recent record. Now in his last fight, that was for the WBA World Welterweight title. Don't ask me whether it was the real one or not, because I don't know and I don't really care. I mean, the WBA have, give out belts like Oprah used to give out presents to the audience. But in his last fight, he fought Radzab Butayev, and it was a split decision win for Stanionis. Very close scores. Well, one of them was close. I think. Well, the one that was close actually was the one that went against Stanionis, and that was 114, 113. The other two were actually, I think, quite wide. I think 116, 112 or 117, 111, something like that. But it was a split decision, and slightly surprising, I suppose. But there again, Butayev was undefeated, so it was a good opponent. Butayev, Russian fighter, tough guy. Quite tall, 5'10" and a half. These are welterweights, by the way. I should have explained that earlier. But yeah, it was a good win. Good win for Stanionis against another Eastern European who brings it. And then prior to that, there was a sort of no contest with Luis Collazo. There was a head clash. Prior to that, there was Thomas Delorme, who actually took Stanionis 12 rounds, which was quite surprising because he got down around by Brute Ennis. I thought Stanionis would smash through Delorme. That was back in 2021, but he didn't. He won pretty wide. I mean, Delorme gave him some problems, won a few rounds, but generally speaking, Stanionis was on the front foot and winning. So if you look at that recent, I mean, I'll go back 2 years, say, I'm not going to go through the whole career. But he has been taking the distance a few times, and been given a little bit of a runaround by a few fighters who you would think he would have got out of there, sooner or later, preferably sooner. But, when it comes to B-, C+ fighters, he was knocking them out. But again, I mean, there were a couple of guys with mixed records who took him into the later rounds, KO 9. That doesn't indicate that he's got one punch KO power at world level, and that could be a problem. What Stanionis does do very well is he's got a very good jab. As I say, he's a pressure fighter. He's moving his feet forward, edging forward, and he's got a very, very good left hook to the body. Very good left hook, and the right hand's not too bad either. But he's very well schooled, and I'd say he's a good fighter, very good fighter. But this is a real test against Virgil Ortiz Jr. because Virgil Ortiz Jr. also undefeated, 19 wins, 19 KOs, no defeats, no draws. And let's go back the last few years of his career. We're talking the last fight you probably remember was it August, I think, of last year, September time last year, back in the last year. And he stopped Michael McKinson in 9 rounds. And McKinson is just an awkward fighter to be up against because McKinson, I mean, he switch hits a lot. He's got no power, really. He was undefeated, by the way, as well, coming in 22 wins and no defeats, no draws, McKinson. But he just fiddled his way and tried to sort of pinch rounds and try to really nick the fight. But he did give Stanionis a lot of problems in the sense that Virgil Ortiz, He did give him a lot of problems because Ortiz was, I mean, anyone who moves that much, you're going to struggle to sort of pin him down. Eventually he got to him, there's no question about it. And in fact, McKinson was on the floor. It was a 9th round stoppage. I think he was on the floor. Was he on the floor twice in 8th round and once in the 9th? I can't remember exactly. But eventually, you know, all credit to Ortiz for catching up with a really awkward guy who was just feeling his way through the fight, nitpicking, switch hitting, not engaging at all. But he chopped him down. That's fair enough. Before that, he stopped Aegis Kavaliauskas, the machine, I think he calls himself. He stopped him in 8 rounds. And Kavaliauskas actually has a quite similarish style to Stanionis, not as good. He was coming forward, looking to engage, trying to outwork Ortiz, but again, chopped down. That was in 2021. In the same year, he took on Morris Hooker. Ortiz stopped him in 7 rounds, although Hooker I was quite surprised. He came at Ortiz. Vergil Ortiz had some problems with this guy. Not in the sense that he was hurt, but Hooker did land some flush punches and he wasn't running. I mean, Hooker's a tall, wiry guy, and you would expect him to do sort of a McKinson. He didn't do anything of the sort. He moved. He moved, but you know, he fired a lot of punches. I mean, he used his feet, but he fired a lot of punches and was quite happy to stand in the pocket and exchange. But there was a weird injury, I think, to Hooker's arm. I think he hurt his elbow or something like that, and that's when the fight stopped. He landed a punch, stepped back, and took a knee and couldn't continue. But I think Vergil Ortiz was getting closer to him, and probably would have stopped him anyway. That was a 12 rounder because it was one of those WBO international and intercontinental belts, whatever the hell they are. I think he'd have got to him eventually, but Hooker gave him some problems. And again, Hooker, Kavaliauskas, McKinson, all very different fighters, which is really good, you know, that you're fighting different people and getting the job done. Before that, Sammy Vargas, that was in 2020, stopped him in 7 rounds. Vargas had gone on his pro. And, you know, but he just got chopped down. Now, what does Ortiz do? Well, he actually does similar things to Stanionis. They've both come forward pressure fighters, but Ortiz has a great jab, a terrific left hook to the body, has stopped a lot of guys with body shots and hurt them badly. But he also likes the overhand right. If he's in range, he might lead with the overhand right and get into trouble. Very good fight, very good, well-schooled fighter, Ortiz. And I get the impression that although they're very similarish in styles, Ortiz just has a little bit more of everything in every department. He seems physically stronger than Stanionis. He's certainly got more power than him. What I would expect Stanionis to do is to try to jab, try to come forward, you know, he's got a jab. He can't get into a firefight early with Ortiz, although I wouldn't put it past him. But Stanionis, if I was him, I mean, the first round they might have a look at each other. It might not set fire in the first round, but it will catch fire from 2nd or 3rd round onwards. It's got to, because of the styles. And I think Stanionis, if you know the old saying, don't hook with a hooker but jab with a jabber. As Ortiz has got more power, I'd say Stanionis needs to be wary of hooking too much to start with, and really needs to jab. Try and make it a jab fest early on. I see Ortiz being given some problems. I think eventually they will get dragged into a fight, and it will become an up close and personal. They're very similar in style. Up close and personal war, very similar in styles. I see Ortiz, like I said, having a bit too much for Stanionis in every department. I think he'll take over in the second half of the fight, maybe the last third, start getting closer, start hurting Stanionis. And my prediction is it's going to be a late round stoppage, probably, I'm going to say the 11th round, with the referee rescuing Stanionis on his feet. I think Stanionis will be game and there to the end. But I also think, it could go the distance, and it could be but if it goes the distance, I think Ortiz will win 116, 112, 115, 113 sort of scorecards. But I think Ortiz is going to win this, and I'm going to go with an 11th round knockout. So that's my prediction. Comments below. What do you think? Give me your opinion on this fight. It's going to be a great one. Like the video if you liked it. Hit the subscribe button. Spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing. I'm looking forward to reading your comments, and I'll answer them. And let me know. It's going to be a great one, this. Bye for now.